Hello, Halle. Thank you for hanging. I'm a huge fan, so thank you so much for talking.
Hello. Oh, thank you, Brandon. Good to talk to you.
Of course. Listen, I actually, if we can, I want to go back a few years to a distant land called 2017. I was in the crowd at Comic-Con when you downed that pint of whiskey, and it was the most impressive thing I've ever seen. Okay. I just have, as having witnessed that in person, I want to revisit that for a second. Were there regrets? Was that real? How did you do that?
That was real, and I have no regrets. I mean, my interviews after that got more, let's say, colorful.
Okay.
But I have no regret.
I can respect. I live in Tennessee, and I'm a whiskey guy, and I was like, "Wow, that is unbelievable." Now, and I'll tell you right now, if I was in the Moonfall world, I would be doing exactly that. I'd be chugging whiskey, and I would just be hiding under a bunker. So I want to hear after working on Moonfall, if you were in a setting like this and the moon was coming, did the movie teach you any sort of survival tips, or would you also be in the bunker just preparing like this is it?
I'd be in the bunker preparing like this is it, preparing for my inevitable end. You know, I'm clearly just an actor, ill-equipped to do all those things that our characters got to do. But it was really fun to pretend to act as if we could actually do something if the moon were actually off its axis and actually going to crash into our planet.
Yeah.
It was a fun ride.
Well, you convinced me like you knew a thing or two about it in this film. Great acting. I do want to say, I read in the notes that this was actually a character that was originally a male character, and then you came in and they made it a female character. I'd love to hear, when did they realize that you this character could be a woman just the same and be equally, if not more awesome? Like, did you help them make that decision?
Well, probably somewhere along the way, but I really attribute it to Roland for having, the open mind and the forethought to realize that, that's something that was possible. Like 20 years ago, or 10 years ago even, I couldn't imagine them casting a Black woman as the head of NASA. A Black man, okay, but a Black woman, no. So I attribute that to Roland.
I love that. Now, I saw the training you did for John Wick, and props to you for that. First of all, that was incredible work. I would love to you. Did you have to do any kind of crazy or unique training for Moonfall? Because I know you're not a stranger to like space sequences, but there's like floating around, and there's props that are floating and humans that are like. Did you have to do anything to get ready to kind of portray those sequences in Moonfall?
Well, I had done a little television series called Extant, where I also played an astronaut. And so I, have research I did from that time where I actually went on one of those flights, those zero gravity flights. And so I knew what it really felt like to be weightless and have zero gravity. So I just could call on those experiences that I, remembered doing for my television show.
Would you do it again? Because I would love to try that sometime.
Zero gravity?
Yeah.
Oh, I loved it. I mean, there was a woman on my plane, I have to say, who did not. She was in the corner vomiting, and the vomit was floating in the air like it was crazy. So the thing is, you never know how you're going to react. And once you go up, you're stuck. And if you're having like a terrible time like this woman had, she was all shades of green and purple when we landed. There was nothing she could do. She had to stay on the ride.
Oh, God. So, well, I still would try it, but after that, I'm a little, I might wear some protective gear. And listen, at Comicbook.com, we obviously know you've been part of both of the major comic book franchises on the Marvel and DC sides. And it seems like Tobey's back, Michael Keaton's back. I know you've spoken of this before, but is there one of your superhero roles that you would be more inclined to revisit, whether it was starring as them again or directing or anything like that? Have you ever thought about anything like that?
I would revisit any of them, actually. I loved all of those characters and, was always grateful to get to play them and be a part of those big franchises, So I would revisit any of them.
Well, I'd love to see you in Secret Wars or Doctor Strange down the line, but we'll see. For now, it's Moonfall, and it was an absolute blast. So thank you so much for the time, and congrats on another good one. Patrick, good to see you again, man. How are you?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm good, dude. So listen, I knew Moonfall was going to offer us some crazy sequences, but I did not go in knowing we were going to open with a Patrick Wilson karaoke session of Africa. So props to you for the bravery there.
Thank you.
In reality, I know you're quite a talented singer, man. So I'd love to hear about that Africa rendition, which is used as a comedic bit. Was that always the song you were going to sing at the open of the film? Was there ever something else silly there?
No, they did. That was always in there because they got the rights through mutual friends, which I won't bore you with, but that was always the tune. It was always, but the question was, and actually what, not to bring up what you don't see, but I remember, I would kind of sing it like just a little under, like just bad enough to have someone be annoyed. Because there's nothing more frustrating than when you're an actual singer to go, hey, I need you to sing really badly. You're like, man, all right. But it's fun. It's fun to do that. Just sing just flat. So it just sounds kind of terrible. But I did do the entire solo that rolling cut. I was like, oh, that was the most fun part. I did the whole thing. Like, I just kept letting it roll. Meanwhile, I'm like, this will never be in the movie, but I'm just going to keep going.
That's one of those that back in the 90s would have been the bloopers during the credits. We need to get that,
100%, like Cannonball Run. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. The movie puts you in some crazy sequences, including just getting pummeled by waves of water in a hotel lobby. I want to hear about that. Like, how many days were you down there in the trenches just getting hit with these waves? Yeah,
that was full on. That was crazy. I'm not gonna lie. I've done a lot of stuff, and wire work and all that stuff. I'm pretty comfortable in, as much comfortable as you can be. But that, because it's literally just, you go outside and you see this giant container of water, and then they're like, okay, basically, we're just going to tip that over. Now, we've padded the stairs and that thing that looks like rocks, that's actually rubber, but we're not quite sure where it's going to take you. So good luck. They're as careful as they can be, but you are just kind of, they said, listen, if you go out too far, you go this way, you go that way, just be careful. Make sure you're facing what's going to happen. So yeah, we were in it. It was probably just I think it was just one day for that one shot. I think we probably did it like 4 or 5 times. The real sweeping you away and getting crashed against everything. It was rough. I actually got banged up.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. And now listen, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask you about the photo we saw from Aquaman 2 with the beard, the Ocean Master return. You can't stay out of the water, man. What can you say about where we find Orm and what he wants this time in the sequel?
Yeah, that was my Castaway does CrossFit look. What can I say? Well, that's certainly Orm, who's been, you saw him be taken away. So clearly he did not have a razor wherever he went. No, it's fun. The movie's going to be a blast. We had such a great time shooting it. I will absolutely say that. And the tone, I think he took the tone and those moments in the first one that we enjoyed and that were kind of went beyond the comic book world, and that they were much more, really appealing to a wider audience. And we embraced that. I think we embraced the tone much more in this movie. Like, James established what he wanted to do with the first one. It was clearly successful. And it's like, okay, so now let's just push it. So every little fun moment, every goofy moment, every heartfelt moment, every action moment, some of the set pieces are unbelievable. The stunts were crazy. Fighting sequences are crazy. Just awesome.
I can't wait to see it, man. Right now, I can't wait for everybody to go see Moonfall, because Roland told me he wants 2 and 3 to happen, maybe. Fingers crossed, because I'm ready to support you guys. I need to see what's next.
Good.
Thanks, man. Always good to see you.
You too, buddy. Take care.
Hey, John, how you doing, man?
Great, thank you, mate. How are you?
I'm great, dude. I'm excited to talk to you. I'm a big fan, and I'm disappointed you didn't bring Fuzz Aldrin to the interview. I'll start there, but
can I just say something about that quickly? I am so badly allergic to cats. I could never be in the same room as Fuzz Aldrin.
Wait, so you shot these scenes with a cat? Like, you were never on the same set?
I could never be on the same set. So I never even met Fuzz Aldrin.
Of all the movie magic I knew I was seeing in Moonfall, I didn't know that. I thought that was real.
So that's destroyed the whole movie for you now, right? You believed in the moon. You believed in all the alien stuff. It's just that me not being in the same room as Fuzz Aldrin.
Just
forget it.
You've checked right out. But I do believe the moon is a megastructure now. I want to talk about going to space, John, because I would love to hear about the training. Halle told me she went and did a 0G flight for a different project that prepared her for this. Did you have to do anything unique, whether it was for wire work or anything like that, to prepare you for acting while moving through the cabin to convince the audience that there is no gravity?
We did a lot. We did a lot of rehearsal. A lot of people think that we were on wires for that 0G stuff, but it was actually we were just sort of we had a board molded to our body, we fit the contours of our body perfectly, and on my body there are a lot of contours to fit. Believe me, you lie on this board, and then you're on a crane arm, and you just float through on this crane arm. But the thing about me was, I seem to play a lot of characters that are no good at anything. I don't have to look like I know what I'm doing. I don't have to look proficient at anything. It's such a gift that I can look like I'm struggling. If I'm struggling, it looks like the character's struggling. And that seems to be what people want from me. So I get off lightly with all that stuff.
I love that, man. And I feel like in acting, when you start an acting career, you have to believe in yourself and your abilities, and people around you can think that you're crazy. And then boom, all of a sudden you're on Game of Thrones and everybody believes in you now. Dr. Houseman, that's a guy who has conviction and beliefs. Your character has those. I believe you probably had to have that same energy about what you believed in. And people thought he was crazy until they didn't. Do you find yourself having any parallels in life with your character in this movie?
Absolutely. That's such a great point. You're always, whenever you think about a character, you're looking for parallels in yourself to try and bring out those emotions in you. And yeah, the idea of me when I was a tiny little kid wanting to be an actor, suddenly in a movie with Halle Berry in what feels like no time at all, and Casey Houseman dreaming of going into space, and suddenly he's in space. They're both such unlikely things that you don't ever realistically think is going to happen. Of course, you're going to use that. Sometimes you surprise yourself with what you're capable of, and I found that very easy to tap into that side of KC, definitely.
Yeah, man, I'm happy for you, man. I'm happy to see you. And I'm happy for Casey. My last thing for you, I'd love to hear, do you and the Thrones cast keep in touch? Like, does Kit lie to you about being in a Marvel movie? Like he lied about Jon Snow being dead? Do you guys stay in touch and talk about any of that stuff anymore?
We do. Yeah, we do. I went to the cinema to see what did I go to see? I think it was the Bond movie. And I saw the Eternals trailer, and it had Kit in it, and it had Richard in it as well. I felt like it feels like there's a party that you've not been invited to. You're seeing all your buddies, and they're interacting with each other, and you feel on the outside of it. We do still keep in touch. Yeah, we're still very, very close, and I'm so proud of them, and Kit especially has been probably my closest friend in it. And I'm back working with Benioff and Weiss now on a new project, and yeah, we're never going to stop being a family. We'll always keep in touch, and they still mean a lot to me, those guys.
I love it. Well, I hope you get to reunite with the Moonfall cast for the 2 and 3 Roland said he wants to make. Because I had a blast watching this film. Dude, definitely. John, it's a pleasure to talk with you. I can go all day with you, but I got to let you get on to the next one. Thank you so much for the time, and enjoy the ride, dude.
My pleasure. Thank you, mate.
Hello, sir. Huge fan. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Well, listen, Moonfall is a blast, man. You guys really swung for the fences, and I could tell you had fun knocking this one out of the park. So I want to start, actually, after watching Moonfall, I went back and I watched Independence Day again last night. And I noticed in Independence Day, there's a lot of practically like throwing cars. Like you're dropping cars on cars, and you're doing a lot of stuff really in the camera. And in Moonfall, I imagine you weren't able to actually have cars sucked up by like an anti-gravity measure. So yeah. I would love to hear, like, looking back at 25 years almost later, when you're doing these type of sequences that involve cars flying and explosions and all this stuff, like what sort of new challenges, because I know there's new opportunities, what sort of new challenges did those types of sequences create for you with Moonfall?
Well, it's actually easier. In Independence Day, we had to do this all in real, and so it becomes much easier. And it's also a little bit an afterthought, because now you can do so much more, and you just like kind of create these incredible images.
Yeah. You've spent a lot of time throughout your career thinking about creative ways that the world could end. and Moonfall is a film that you came up with. I'd love to hear, is this like your most recent idea, or is this a film that you had to develop and kind of wait to get done until the filmmaking technology would catch up and allow you to create those sequences?
No, it's always, I did a lot of destruction in 2012. And, it's just like a new way. I read this book called Who Built the Moon? And that inspired me actually to do that story. But we come up with a totally different solution, what they came up with. And there was like kind of a great idea to do that.
I love it. A lot of people go into movies and they could be disaster movies. They could be apocalyptic films, but they kind of expect that when a character saves the world will kind of return back to like status quo. And you've shown that's not always going to be the case. There can be destruction and death as a result. Do you find that you have to find a balance of like how much destruction the audience will buy, how much death we're allowed to show? Like, how do you strike that balance to keep the stakes?
Well, you have to always stay a little bit away from cruelty. So you don't want to kind of show too many people, dying right in front of you. And that's like kind of a trick, and then, this movie is like kind of taking also like kind of a little bit a left turn. The moment, this doesn't work to kind of catch this thing, they have to go inside the moon, which is like kind of really, I think, the big surprise. And we show a little bit of it in the trailers, but what happens inside the moon is quite fantastic.
Yeah, and speaking of what happens inside the moon, I'm not going to spoil anything, but you have a big idea that you are unleashing in this film, and it is more complex than I was ever expecting, and I appreciated that. It also feels like maybe you just scratched the surface. Are you hoping that there's something that follows this? Is there like more story?
I always kind of said if this movie works, I want to make part 2 and 3.
Love it. Well, thank you so much for the time, man. I hope you get to see part 2 and 3 because I'd love to see them.